and welcome back to The Explainer. If you're the kind of person who literally loves taking apart a story to see exactly how it ticks, well, you are in the perfect place. Today, we've got a fantastic, incredibly concise text to analyze. We're looking at a piece of microfiction titled The Silent Letter of the Shore. Our goal here? We're going to deconstruct this bite-sized narrative and uncover exactly how the author uses classic romantic tropes to build deep, resonant emotion in literally just a handful of sentences. We're going to break down the architecture of this romance right in front of you.
Okay, let's dive into this. I don't know how to say this out loud. Man, it's so incredibly simple, isn't it? But it instantly pulls us right into the intimate, secretive, emotional core of the text. Right from the jump, we're thrust inside the mind of a character grappling with this massive, unspoken truth. This isn't just a sentence, it's a raw confession of vulnerability. It establishes the stakes immediately, that very real fear of verbalizing something that just feels way too big for spoken words.
Part 1. The Silent Admirer. This is the foundation of our story, the initial setup, where we meet our protagonist and define his central internal conflict before any of the real action even starts.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the author distills an entire backstory into just a few rapid-fire facts. We've got a handsome boy from a small village. He finds his literal soulmate while staying in a hostel. But the real friction? It's right there in that third point. He wasn't good with words. The author doesn't waste pages giving us exhaustive character history. Instead, we get this incredibly efficient universal struggle. Being completely overwhelmed by feelings, but lacking the vocabulary or the courage to express them? That is a deeply relatable human experience, and it absolutely hooks our attention.
Part 2. The Secret Letter. This is the catalyst of the story, the exact moment where all those pent-up internal feelings are finally forced into external action.
Let's move on and see how this builds across the exact chronological sequence of this inciting incident. First up, we have the setting, walking through the beach. This adds such a beautiful layer of quiet, natural romance to the scene. Next, the physical action, the secret transmission of slipping the letter into her bag. And finally, the critical moment of discovery by the girl. Notice how the author uses that serene backdrop of the shoreline to really contrast with the anxiety and the super high stakes of sneaking a deeply personal letter into someone's possession.
Once she discovers it, she reads the rest of the message. But you've made my world brighter, and I can't stop thinking of you. Just take a moment to absorb the sheer vulnerability in those carefully chosen words. By putting his feelings down on paper, the boy completely bypasses his inability to speak. The letter does all the heavy lifting for him. It's direct, it's sincere, and it totally shifts the dynamic of the story from an unrequited silent crush right into a declared, tangible reality.
Part 3. The emotional climax. Here's where we analyze the visceral, immediate reaction the girl has to the letter and the incredible tension created in the aftermath.
Now, what's really interesting here is the direct contrast between these two characters in this exact frozen moment in time. The girl is having an intensely physical reaction, right? Her heart is racing, tears are forming, she quote-unquote started like crying. It is this massive wave of raw emotional validation. But the boy? He is standing right behind her, entirely exposed, and the text describes him as nervously frightened. They're standing on the very same beach, yet they are experiencing completely opposite ends of the emotional spectrum. Overwhelming realization on one side and pure, terrifying vulnerability on the other.
Then she looks up behind her. She sees him standing there, just terrified. She holds up the physical letter, which is really the anchor of our whole story, and asks just 3 words. Is it true? This single line pierces completely through the tension. It bridges the physical and emotional gap between them in a heartbeat. She isn't responding with a long speech, she's simply asking for confirmation of the reality he just created with this secret letter. It is the absolute peak of the narrative arc.
Part 4. The Space Between. The resolution and the thematic closure of the narrative. The tension has peaked, the truth is out, and our characters finally get to breathe.
So the crucial point is just how efficiently this entire sequence unfolded. We moved rapidly from the origin of his feelings back in the hostel, right to the discovery of the letter on the beach, and straight into the emotional climax of the confession. In literally just a few short paragraphs, the author has masterfully escorted us through an entire relationship's beginning. The pacing is incredibly tight, leaving absolutely no wasted space and pushing us straight to the resolution.
And wow, what a resolution it is. He nodded and she smiled, whispering, "I feel the same." Notice what happens here. The boy, who we learned earlier wasn't good with words, doesn't even need to speak.
His simple physical nod is totally enough, and it is perfectly answered by the girl's whispered confirmation. The conflict of his silence is resolved not by him suddenly turning into a poet, but by her accepting him exactly as he is and meeting him halfway.
The author then leaves us with this gorgeous final line wrapping up the micro-romance perfectly. The letter became their beginning, and love filled the spaces between. The physical letter, that little piece of paper slipped into a bag on the beach, is elevated into a massively powerful metaphor for connection. It bridged the literal and figurative gap between two people. Because the spaces between isn't just about physical distance, is it? It's about the silence, the unspoken thoughts, and the fears that previously kept them apart.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you all with this final thought. We've seen how just a few carefully chosen words, even when written in secret, had the power to entirely change a person's world. It's such a great reminder of the power of expressing our own unspoken feelings, whether that's gratitude, affection, or maybe a truth we've just been hiding. So think about the people in your life, the unsaid thoughts you carry around, and ask yourself, what words will fill the spaces in your own story? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and definitely keep communicating.